Hello, my name is Wayne Monteith, and I'm the FAA's Associate Administrator for Commercial Space Transportation. I am fortunate to lead the women and men of the federal agency that licenses and regulates all U.S. commercial launches and re-entries globally. The U.S. commercial space transportation enterprise is growing at an extraordinary pace, and it's our job to regulate this industry to ensure public safety. So if you're thinking about obtaining a license from our office to conduct a commercial space transportation activity, we're ready to share some information that will help make the process easier. Pam Underwood, our pre-application lead, will now provide you some detailed information about our licensing process. Pam, take it away.
Hello, my name is Pam Underwood. I'm the manager of the Operations Integration Division for the FAA Office of Commercial Space Transportation. Today I'm going to give you an overview of our office as well as an introduction into how to obtain a license for a commercial space activity. The FAA is authorized under Title 51. In that, we've given a two-part mission. The first part is to ensure the protection of the public, property, and the national security and foreign policy interests of the United States during commercial launch or re-entry. The second part is to encourage, facilitate, and promote the U.S. commercial space transportation industry. It is unique for a regulatory agency to have encourage, facilitate, and promote in their mission statement, and unique in the FAA. We are the only line of business that has that. We feel very strongly that it's important for this emerging industry that we have the opportunity to work with. To date, we have licensed over 375 commercial launch and reentry activities since 1989, without any public casualties or major property damage. The U.S. space program is divided into three primary sectors: the civil, which is mostly NASA, the military, which is Department of Defense, and of course the commercial, which is FAA licensed. Today, we find the civil and military sectors are utilizing the commercial space transportation sector more frequently, and it may be confusing whether or not a license is required for your particular activity. It is important to note that we are very interested in if the commercial sector is the one actually operating the vehicle and conducting the launch. If that's the case, then more than likely a license will be required. If you have any questions about that, we can always address that during pre-application consultation. The commercial space sector had its official start in 1984 with the passage of the Commercial Space Launch Act. It did set up the Department of Transportation as the regulatory agency responsible for the commercial space transportation industry. Today, the Office of Commercial Space Transportation is one of 5 lines of businesses within the FAA. Commercial aviation and commercial space are fundamentally different. They do derive from different statutory authorities, and this chart goes through the description and details of those. The commercial space and the aviation industries are fundamentally different. They derive from different statutory authorities, as this chart describes. In the commercial aviation side, it's a very mature industry. It involves the regulation of aircraft and has over 20,000 flights per day and over 500 certified airports. It also involves the assumption of passenger and crew safety in its regulation. Commercial space, on the other hand, is very much an emerging industry. It involves the regulation of launch and re-entry vehicles. Instead of thousands of flights per day, we're talking in a few hundred have been licensed since 1989. It also has 12 licensed spaceports and 2 private sites. When it comes to passenger safety or occupant safety, it is based on the premise of the acceptance of risk or informed consent. As you can see, very different industries, very different regulations, and in the Office of Commercial Space, we address the commercial space regulating industry. So you might be asking, who needs a license or permit? Any citizen or entity organized under the laws of the United States must get a license from the FAA to launch or re-enter a vehicle inside or outside the United States. They also must get a license from the FAA if you want to operate a launch or re-entry site either inside or outside the United States. It's important to note that the FAA does not license things that are carried out for the government. This goes back to the commercial, military, and civil sector that I discussed in the previous chart. If you have any questions on this, we can discuss it during pre-application consultation. The FAA has multiple regulations that might apply to your particular activity. This chart shows the different regulations that might apply, and as you can see, depending on the type of vehicle or whether you want to operate a site or a vehicle, different parts of the regulations apply to you. Different questions on the application of these can be addressed during the pre-application consultation phase. The process to obtain a license is described in this chart. Stage 1 is pre-application consultation. That's where my division will work with you to determine what regulations are applicable to your proposed activity. Also during this phase, we encourage starting on environmental reviews, as the National Environmental Policy Act is applicable because the issuance of a license is considered a major federal action. We also start very early on our safety review, as well as integrating your activity into the National Airspace System. Phase 1 is completed when you submit an application to the FAA. At that point, your 180-day license or 120-day permit evaluation commences. All the items listed in Stage 2 are what we do during that time frame. At the conclusion of those periods, 180 days for a license or 120 days for a permit, you start into your operational phase, which is Stage 3. The FAA is still engaged during Stage 3 as we have safety inspectors that tend your different activities, build up, and launch activities to ensure compliance with the representations you made in your application, as well as the applicable statutory and regulatory information. Additional resources can be found on our website. Here you'll find license and permit application guidance, checklists that we might find helpful in preparing your application, as well as links to all of the regulations that were shown on the slide previous. I hope this information was helpful, and thank you very much for watching.